Yes! Get into it, lovelies. Get into it. Hello, my darlings. How are you? Welcome back with another installment of Storytime with Chris. As I always say, you don't have to watch these videos when they go live. You're more than welcome to watch them in your downtime, nap time, max, relax, and chillaxing time. In between time, mean time, scheme time, start time, break time, CP time, any time that you want to hear a highly animated voice. Bring you wonderful stories of magic, fantasy, science fiction, adventure, and music, and many, many more in between. Which I don't own the music that is playing in the background, which is brought to you by a YouTuber known as Roly. It is very much so my speed. It's like a druidic, Celtic harp playing and flute playing medley. So super grateful for that. Show her some love, please. So somebody asked me the other day, do I do leisurely reading? And yes, I do. So I don't just read books for story time. I read books in my leisurely time. This is the book I'm currently reading right now. It's part of the Disney Prince novel series, because if anybody knows me well, everybody knows I'm a Disney fan. And yes, I'm a Disney fan that also addresses their scrutinies and controversies of the man that created the company, but that's besides the point. We're talking about the current people who own and create the amazing stories that we know and love, especially from the Disney Renaissance of 1989 through 1999. Miss those guys. Actually, one of them has come back to the company. I think his name is Ron Clements or John Musker. Those two were very integral directors for those decades of movies. Anyway, a decade, of movies. But yeah, this is basically Sleeping Beauty, but told from the perspective of Prince Philip and how he has to go on a bit of an epic quest to learn about magic. Come to find out, Prince Philip has magical abilities from a very young age, and he's visited by three fairies, Frike or Prike. It's Phrike, so I say Frike or Prike, and then there's Poena, Poena, and then there's Iris. These three good fairies who are teaching him how to learn about his magical powers, while also taking him on a quest to retrieve the sword of truth and the shield of virtue. The famous weapons he uses in the final battle against Maleficent. And it kind of puts it in perspective of like, it's still Prince Philip from the movie that you love, but it's giving a bit more context about how he feels about the fact that he's betrothed to a girl that he's never even met, and how he's supposed to protect her from Maleficent. And it's just a lot of responsibility to throw on one person their entire life. That's all you hear. This is your destiny. This is what you're supposed to do. This is the person you're supposed to marry, and not have a choice in the matter. And he gets to try to understand, is this really something I want to do, or am I just doing it to please the people I love? And so honestly, it's pretty good. I am on chapter 7 right now. So if I take the time, I could probably finish that in 2 days. Maybe, if with enough concentration, maybe a day and a half. Anyway, I always am reading. Reading is my joy. It is my passion. It is not just an escape. It is a drop off into visiting old friends. It's a visit, not an escape. There it is. Let's get to the Unicorn Chronicles, because we just got the origin of the hunters versus the unicorns. So now Grimwald is going to try to send a message to the queen. Chapter 16, The Scrying Pool. Lightfoot shifted uneasily beside her. I do not like that story, he said. It makes me unhappy.
I did not tell it to brighten your day,
replied Grimwald sharply.
I told it because you have become a part of it.
But how do you know that the man who's chasing us is a hunter? Asked Kara.
Who else would seek the amulet? Someone else might have heard of it, I suppose. But when you add the amulet to the tracking, the pursuit of you and your grandmother, it smacks to me of hunters.
Do you think he would have hurt my grandmother? She asked. Grimwald frowned.
It's hard to say. Though their quarrel is only with the unicorns, they can be ruthless in their pursuit.
Kara groaned. What should I do now?
Let us try to contact the queen, said Grimwald.
How do we do that?
Through the scrying pool, he said.
Kara wrinkled her brow. What's that? Rather than answering directly, Grimwald said,
Follow me.
He rose and led them to a door in the side of the story room. When they stepped through it, Kara caught her breath in wonder and desire. If the story room was the best room she had ever seen, the contents of this next room were, especially for someone who could think of little better than to live in a library, overwhelming. It was a room full of books, shelves and racks and rows of books, and every one of them looked old and mysterious, as if it held secrets too fascinating to be put in more modern-looking volumes. Scrolls they were as well, or in 4 or 5 polished wooden stands where thick books lay open with ribbons marking their pages. "What are all these?" she asked.
The Unicorn Chronicles, replied Grimwald. They hold the history of all that has happened since the unicorns first came to Luster.
"But where did they come from?" Grimwald shrugged.
From me, from the unicorns. The unicorns bring me their stories, and I write them down.
"You wrote all of these?" she asked in astonishment.
I've been here a long time, he replied as if they had explained everything. And please remember, I do not invent the stories. I simply record what the unicorns tell me. You will be in here too before long, because you are part of one of their stories as well. Though, should they go wrong with this one,
he trailed off as if the possibility was too horrible to contemplate. "But where do the things to make them come from?" she asked. "The paper, and the ink, and the pens, and, well, everything." She finished waving her hands in a gesture that took in not only this room, but the one they had just left, and the hall beyond that with its paintings and portraits. "You're not the only human who has come to Luster," said Lightfoot gently.
"More's the pity,"
growled the Dimplethumb. They had reached an arched door at the far side of the library. Grimwald paused with his hand on the thick metal latch and said,
The unicorns have lived for a long time now. In the time since they first opened the passage to this world, humans have stumbled, fallen, lied, cheated, bought, magicked, and hoped their way here. Whether or not they're allowed to stay is a complicated matter, but any who are expected to serve the Queen. My job is to chronicle the days of the unicorns. Others there are who make paper, who bind books, who fashion things of beauty and worth.
"Or fix things," said Thomas cheerfully. "Where do the other humans live?" Kara asked.
Here and there, said Grimwald with a shrug, usually in clumps and clusters, the way humans tend to, though some are solitary and live in cottages built far from the beaten path.
"Some just travel," added Thomas. Grimwald, who clearly did not like to be interrupted, shot him a nasty look. Thomas took out one of his watches and looked at it as if it contained important information.
The people who find their way here often tend to be loners, continued the dwarf. So some do not live any place at all, but wander the paths of Luster, errands when the Queen summons them.
Thomas smiled and nodded. Grimwald snorted and opened the door he had been holding. The others followed him out of the library into a cave that had been left in its natural form. In its center, 3 tripods supported small cauldrons filled with something that glowed a soft orange. By this dim light, Kara saw irregular stone walls and a scattering of stalactites and stalagmites. Centered between the tripods was a stone basin, much like the one they had held the cold fire in the main cavern. However, rather than fire, this basin held dark, cold-looking water.
The scrying pole, said Grimwald.
Then he ordered Lightfoot to dip his horn in the basin. The unicorn nodded and stepped forward. When he bent his horn to the water, silver shimmered across the surface of the basin.
Stand beside me,
the dwarf said to Kara, positioning himself at the edge of the basin. She stood where he indicated.
Look into the water.
Again she complied. To her surprise, the surface of the water began to shimmer. Slowly an image began to appear. It was not her reflection, nor a reflection of the cavern, but an entirely different place, green and pleasant-looking. Summerhaven, said Lightfoot, who was standing behind them. He backed up a step or two. "I just as soon you not tell the Queen I'm here," he said to Grimwald. The Squidgerman jumped onto the rim of the basin and was looking into the pool with fascination.
"Very much good, pretty,"
he said, reaching out to touch the water. Kara expected Grimwald to snap at the little creature and shoo him away. But before the dwarf could move, the water roiled and darkened.
"Yikes!"
squealed the Squidgerman, leaping onto Kara's shoulder. Grimwald cursed in astonishment. "What is it?" asked Kara. "What's happening?"
Something has interfered with the connection, he said.
He shivered, and the look in his eyes sent a chill down Kara's spine as well.
This has never happened before, he continued. The pool is a powerful magic. The queen herself set it up for me. I cannot imagine what could...
Look, said Lightfoot. All eyes turned to the pool. A message had appeared on the surface of the troubled water, written in large, flowing letters, as if from some great pen. It said, "Surrender the amulet." It was signed, Beloved. And that is where we will end for today. Told y'all. Cliffhangers every time. And Beloved, if you remember from our last chapter we were reading, is the leader of the hunters who wished to hunt and pursue the unicorns. She unfortunately was about to be healed from a very deadly sickness she was going through by a unicorn, but her dad misinterpreted the unicorn plunging its horn into her chest so it could heal her as an attack upon her. So the tip of... oh, what is his name? Whiteling. That was his name. Yeah, let me double check. Yes, Whiteling. So Whiteling the unicorn and Beloved's father, they get into a fight. They both ended up dying, unfortunately, and Beloved was left alone, but she has the power and the magic of the unicorn to basically have longevity. She's not immortal. She's not immortal. To be immortal would mean that you cannot die. Whereas having longevity means that you do not age as quickly as others. You age at a far slower rate than the normal mortal being. You are still mortal, meaning that you can still expire or die. But in the case of Beloved, because the magic of the horn, ever wounding, ever healing her heart and body, she stays youthful and young while also slowly aging. So she's been around for several hundreds of years, because this book was made in the mid-90s. So when Beloved came about, that was all the way back in about like the 14th, 15th century. And so she's been alive for a long time. A long, long time. But no more lessons on fantasy lore and whatnot. I shall see you later. Bye, my lovelies. Bye-bye.